Okay, I'm going to try and do my best job here on a really detailed uh, video on how I do these Bruder D5 conversions. The reason being is on Cults 3D, I have some 3D printed parts there that are for purchase. And I've never really done an explanation as to how I've done them. So I'm just going to dive into that. So basically, I'll try and go over everything as best as I can, show you what's going on, how they fit. So I was building bulldozers for people at the time. They were about $550, ready to run with a battery. Parts and pieces are expensive. I don't use cheap servos for my builds, as part of the reason why some of the cost is the way it was. And then having said that too, the pieces I designed, I don't know if they fit other servos or not. They're specifically designed to fit the servos that I use for this build. So the servos I use are these high-tech HSR 2645 CRH servos, so they are. And they're the continuous rotation. There's the H on there for them. They're continuous rotation, so they will go forwards, backwards, without any modification. They're bulletproof. They last forever. They are solid servos. I think they're High-Tech's a Korean company. They make really good servos. I use quite a lot of their servos in a lot of my builds, and I've never had an issue whatsoever. So I stand by those because I know they're not going to give me any grief. Having said that, I was using these ones for the blade function, and another really solid servo. Honestly, like, kind of overkill. I think that I probably could. I actually have used some different servos for the blades and tested them too, like thoroughly tested. Everything I use, I test the living hell out of it before I decide I'm going to put anything to sell anybody on market, because I do not want to deal with customer complaints or anybody telling me that something's not working without having a history to fall back on to say, you know what, unless there's a manufacturer's defect with that product, it will work fine. So I really want to make sure I have a quality product I'm putting out there that people are getting value for, and I will test the living hell out of everything I build so that I can stand by it and say, no, this should be working fine. That's the reason for that. Okay, so I'll dive right into this. So first thing you got to do is get the bulldozer apart. It can be a bit tricky. I'll show you right now just on here, what I've done to do that. So usually you'll get, the dozer. I file these down. There's some tabs there that you need to kind of fandangle and get those released. There's also some tabs that are, they sit actually. Oh, there you can see the lines right there. So there's tabs there. I've actually broke those off. I drill them. You can see actually a little bit of a drill hole there and there. I drill those to get those knocked out of the way. Those ones come off. Then the ones up in the front here, I also drill those as well. Those probably will not stay there. I think they do interfere with the blade setup, I believe. So those ones get drilled. Those ones get filed down. Those ones get snapped off. And then these pieces right here, they actually clip in and lock in on the side. And so that's how that goes. If you're wanting more detail on that, really, that's just one of those things you're going to have to kind of learn how to do. You got to pull these things apart. I'm not going to spend too much time in that. You're just basically looking for tabs, trying to take tabs off. The first thing I'd recommend you do, or at least I do, is I take the blade off first. And then there's some tabs underneath here. These guys right here and here, those get pushed in. You spread that blade apart and over, and that comes out, and then that gives you a bit of access. I pop the tracks off first and all that stuff too. So, okay, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but more so about how the pieces go together and the cutting of it as well. So right now, basically what I did is I designed two pieces. I designed a plate that sits on the top, and I designed a plate that sits on the bottom. These plates are designed to fit the high-tech servo, like I said. And so how this works is that basically I do my cutting inside. I have to trim. There's a piece in here. I get trim that out to open that up. Make a fair bit of space. There's some tabs on the side. Those get cut off. I actually didn't need to pop those pieces off but I did. It's actually been a little while since I've done the conversion, so I couldn't really remember how I did it. So anyways, that's fine. But the piece I designed in the front, it's actually designed to fit right in there, almost as those pieces there are almost a guide. So that sits like that. So basically for cutting purposes, I've got a dozer here. I'll just kind of show you. I haven't opened this up, but this is one stock one out of the box here. So basically right here, I'll try and change this a bit here. Basically on the bottom of this guy here, you need to cut these pieces off. Those tabs are going to be cut off and gone, so you can actually just knock those out of the way now. And then what I do is, it's kind of hard to see here, but on the back, this piece right here, you actually leave like enough meat on the back of that for those screws to go in. But I also do, how did I do that? Kind of see in them, if you can kind of see in there or not, it's kind of hard to, I really try not to do anything because I got shaky hands, but you see there, I got some, a bit of the yellow sticking in the back there. So I leave enough for those two screws to go in on each side of the meat of the dozer. So that there can have something to pinch to, because these servo holders I made, they pinch between the sandwich. This is like the cheese of the sandwich here, and that's the bread, and then that top piece is the bread. And then you have to cut out this shape to fit the servo into that. You can see I was just a little bit high up on that one side there. So these will actually fit nice and square in that. So you basically are going to remove, like I said, these pieces here. Go slow with it, right? As soon as you get those pieces off, you get this thing opened up. You can actually take these top plates here, and those pieces are made as a bump out to go around that tab holder there. So put the top piece in, and just slowly keep cutting away as to where you got to do to get that to sit in there nice and flush with the front of that. So that like sits up into there. And then the bottom piece will mount on the bottom here. There's a lot of heavy cutting to do with this model to make this work. That's the biggest thing about it, is there's a lot of cutting. So that's the bulldozer there. I haven't done, it's just a static one. And then you'll find that those two pieces, those servos will sit in there nice and flush, and then that piece will sit on the bottom there, and that piece will sit on the top there. So then I screw these together. Now I have some long screws. These are actually 25 mil long, 2.5 mil machine screws. They're button head cap screws. I put those through, so you're gonna need some long ones to make it actually reach through there. There's a little bit protruding on the top there still, so I don't know if that's sticking out. Maybe you might be like a 22 mil if you really want to get sticky and picky with it, but I just go with 25 mil on those each sides. Now that sandwiches those plates I 3D printed to lock that in. And then what I do is I put some 3 mil rod through here and through the back, and that's what sucks those servos together and holds them nice and tight. So then that's not going to pop out this way, and it's not going to fall apart that way. That sucker is locked in there nice and tight. It ain't going anywhere. And so that's how that gets fit. For the front blade, this part here, it's actually pretty straightforward to put in, but it is a little bit finicky to drill the holes in the front just because of the way that this piece sits. So I put this piece in, it guides, it fits right in between those tabs there and there, and then you drill those two holes with your screw, with your drill, and then that one there, you kind of put them on a bit of an angle, go through, and then once I do is I take that piece off, and then once I've kind of got my holes, then I just go through and I drill those two holes again just to straighten them out and make them flush. So it's not too bad, but it's a little bit of my drill's just bulky. It's hard to get around it. So that's how that goes, and then that will sit in there like so, and then the servo will fit into this piece here. Now, I know I said I've made parts specifically for certain things, and so I actually have two styles of these. And I'm trying not to get off track a little bit, but I had to, at the time, I don't think I could afford to get another one of these, so I used one of the 25 kg servos that you get on Amazon, and I don't remember if this one is for that, or if it's for the high-tech MG42. The only difference between these two is that I had to notch that piece down a little bit there, whereas the other one just sits flush all the way across. So when I get this thing put together, I'll be able to tell you which one that actually was that I used in there. I have an MG 645 servo right now, but I modified it for continuous rotation in my pipe layer, so I'm not going to be able to use that. So I might look at just getting a cheap one, or I might see if some other servos might fit it. And then I'll just maybe do an update in the description of the video. I don't think I'll make another video specifically for that, or I might just make a quick one. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Anyways, so that's that. Next thing is the sprockets, and the sprockets are probably the most finicky thing of the whole thing. But again, I tried to make it as easy as I possibly could. So with the sprockets, you really got to file them or grind them all down. I use a Dremel to get in there, a very small Dremel, and I just keep on eating away at that stuff in there, but I leave about that much of it sticking up. And then I put these pieces in here. So these pieces here, if you look at them, they kind of sit like this, and they have a bit of a pattern on them as to how they go. So it's like that. So I'll show you from the top. Kind of notched like that, right? So the reason I have a square hole in that one is just so you can pop it out if you need to. They could put a pair of like pliers in there and just pull that piece out if you had to, just in case it wasn't sitting flush. Because if you push those pieces into the sprockets and don't have any way to get them out, like, good luck, they're stuck in there. So I put a little square in there so that could be pulled out if it had to. And then these other two are for the screws to go through the sprockets to hold it in place. Now I have this one here. This is like way before I did any 3D printing and all. I used to use ABS pieces of plastic all the time, hole saw, cut, and all that kind of stuff. So this is the servo horn from the high-tech continuous rotation servo here. That will come off of this sprocket, and that servo horn will sit flush on there. So these pieces go into the sprocket, right? And then that sits on those pieces like it is in there. And then I put screws through the sides for those screws to be able to grab hold of the tracks. And then that sandwiches it all together. And then the hole in the center is drilled big enough that I can get my screwdriver through, and to put the screw in there onto those servos so that they hold together. And then basically once I've done all that, then everything gets put back together, but I put weight into it as well. And this thing's kind of designed that it fits the servo in the middle, and there's enough of a gap on each side that you can fit a bunch of wheel weights in there, just to kind of help give it a little extra weight where it's needed. Yeah, and then it just kind of is a matter of just fitting weight wherever you can. Up in the cab here, when I put this piece back in, what I did on my other Dozer, which I don't have it with me right now, is I actually lined up a bunch of wheel weight into there, and just wherever you can kind of fit it. Now, I've kept my Dozers I've done. I've built a lot of them for people, and I've kept the Dozers I've done usually fairly straightforward. But on this one here, I actually want to add a function for this to be able to turn and tilt. So I'm going to do that. So that's going to be a new thing for me on mine that I'm going to make that I've never done for others. I'm not sure how I'm going to tackle it yet, but that is going to be something that I'm going to take on. There's some other smaller details, like how to hook the servo horn onto the blade. I basically use some of those like quick link kind of things. I'm just looking on my wall to see if I have any, but I can't find them. They're like little links that you usually get on like the WPL suspensions and stuff like that. So you put, I usually use one of these pieces. Here we go. So I'll usually use like one of these guys here, this black piece right here, and then you thread a piece of rod into that, and then I put a link on the bottom with a swivel, a little brass swivel piece, and that can kind of make it so when the blade's moving up and down, that screw can kind of move a bit, well, at least the piece can move freely while the screw's through it. And that's how that picks up the blade and moves the blade. And that screw, usually gets attached just right in the bottom corner there, so it lifts it up and down. I'm just trying to think if there's any other things I do. I don't do lights. I don't do anything like that. I just, tracks move, blade goes up and down, and like I said, now I want to make it so I can do articulation with the blade, and that's that. So that's pretty much what I got. If you got any questions, please feel free to ask me some specifics, because I'm sure I probably forgot something. Oh, actually, yeah, I did forget something. There's also a lot of cutting that goes on with these guys too, to make clearances for all that kind of stuff. So I have some of these over here. Now, these are a bit rough and tough. Again, these are like before I did any 3D printing, before I tried to make anything that was actually like a replicated product. But it just kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how much cutting that you need to do versus the stock one. So I don't know if you can kind of see that there, but there's the stock one. If you look on the side, you can see how much different it is, right? Like, I got to get in there and do a ton of trimming on those to make that fit, so you can see how that's all done there. Most of it's all in the back. Nothing happens up front. It's just on the rear where the sprocket goes, because you got to make room for the sprockets to turn. This is basically all making room for the servo to kind of, this thing be able to sit tight and the servo to be able to fit. And so it's just accommodating that. So those are replicated the same on both sides. So there's kind of a bottom shot for you to see. Have a look at that. Then there's a shot right there for you, if you can, so you can look at that. And then if you're ever wondering, you can just pause a video of this and just kind of have a look at how it all looks from each angle. And I didn't make it very square on these, but I will make it more square on the ones that I cut. So you can kind of see the difference between how that one is sitting. Right, there's the stock one. Again, there's the bottom. And then there's like the rear looking at it, right? Just gives an idea. And again, it's the same on both sides. And then what I was doing in the past was for the, it's for these. I'm not going to do this now on this one, but I was pinning them here and here. But because I want to make this tilt, that's not going to be the case anymore. So I'm going to try, maybe, I don't know if I'm going to do some sort of geared motor in there with some sort of half gear for a pinion to turn on, or a servo of some kind. I really have no idea how I'm going to do that yet. I haven't really looked at it in great detail. So we'll just have to see how that all unfolds. I'm sure I'll do a video of that. Anyways, that's basically what I got. And then as far as it goes, for just like another quick and easy thing to remember here is when it comes time to put it all together, you got your sprockets on, all that kind of stuff. These have to sit in here. I just kind of put those in there like that for now. And then this piece right here, it just goes in like so. Like I said, I got to cut these, so I don't think this is going to sit right now. I haven't fully finished it all, so I'll just take that up for now. These will get trimmed flush. You just use these as a guide. That goes in there. And then you just take this and kind of push that down like that. And then that's how that sits on there. So I just put that up there so you can kind of see. But that's basically in essence how that all goes, how it would look. Like I said, I'm going to put the sprockets on. They're just, it's going to make everything more true and square, because when I did this one, I did it without a printer. I went to a store out in town here and bought a bunch of ABS sheets, started cutting and stacking and making things fit. And that's how I used to do my early conversions before I got into doing anything with a 3D printer to keep stuff straight. Actually, my 963 track loader still has ABS sheets in it. One day maybe I'll take that apart and just try and put some more square stuff in there. I probably doubt it, but I'd say I'll do that anyways. Okay, this is 20 minutes coming up here, so I'd say I've done enough rambling about that. But I tried to go over everything. Like I said, there's a little bit of trimming. Like there's a little piece there. You got to file that down, otherwise it interferes with the blade coming up and down. But yeah, in a nutshell, basically that's pretty much what I got. So again, if you're not sure about anything, please feel free to ask. And I'll do my best to answer any questions that might come up. I mean, I've had a lot of people that just basically kind of want me to do it for them. and I will build you one. But again, too, the problem I have with it is like my prices that I said before, $550, everything in, that was based off of what prices were like before everything's gone through the roof and getting more and more expensive. So either I need to come up with a new design to find some more affordable servos for this thing to fit, which I'm not in a rush to do, or see if those will fit. Maybe a cheaper servo will fit those plates. I don't know. And then I might be able to bring the cost down. But I'm just honestly at a point where my time is precious. I don't do things for free. I'm more than happy to help. But I have had people literally try and undermine me all the time, and it's just not what I'm about. Like I try to build something that's solid. I stand by. I don't like dealing with customer complaints. I want to have a good name. My name and what I build means something to me, and I care about what I'm doing. So I've wanted to make sure that when I sell somebody something and I'm going to take your money that you worked hard for, you're going to be getting something in return that's worth what you put your effort into to get. So I'm pretty particular about what I'll do. I would like to build other models as well. Again, it takes me a long time to make sure that stuff I'm building is not going to give any problems, or I'm going to have some nuisance issue where I've got somebody that lives way down in the States or someone that lives across the country, and I'm trying to explain a mechanical or electronic problem on the internet is just not, it's a nightmare. I don't want to deal with that. It's really challenging to fix those kinds of problems. And I don't want to get into ship it back to me, I'll fix it, ship it back, and whose cost, right? It just becomes difficult to deal with that kind of stuff. So when I make something and it's going out my door, it's going out, and I know it's going to last, and I know it's going to be built solid and good. And that's my aim, is to have a good name and a good reputation behind me for things I build. So there are some models I really would like to build. Like I'd like to build the 906 track loader, or sorry, the 906 articulating loader. I'd like to build the AUSA dumper. But the problems with those models is that I haven't built them economically really. Like, I feel that it would be hard for me to pass the cost on a customer. I built all those models with high-tech MG85 servos. Those servos are like $55, $60 a servo, right? I didn't build them with little N20 gear motors, and I don't know how long the N20 gear motors will last. So if people want me to build them stuff, it sometimes is like, you might think I'm going to build you something for like dirt cheap, but I just can't. Like, I can't knock something out for like $100 out the door. There's no profit for me in it. And I just can't even get parts, I think, that cheap. And if I do, it's going to be a piece of crap, and it's going to break. And if it breaks, I'm going to tell you, well, that's what you get for $100, and so be it, right? Not trying to be rude, but I'm trying to just be straight and not piss around and monkey around the bush with things. Let's just get right to the point, right? So, anyways, get off track. There's the Dozer. Any questions? Feel free to ask. More than happy to help. Hopefully just this helps with people if they want to buy the individual parts that I put on Cults 3D, which is Poseidon.pps. I'll put a link in the video so that you can get straight to it. But they work really well. I've had some great reviews. I've had a lot of people tell me some awesome things about them, and I've never had anybody come back and say, hey, you built me something that didn't last. So they're solid and they work really well. So I'm happy to share this. Hopefully it helps out, and I'd say that should be good to go. Please, any questions, feel free to ask, but I want to make some that lasts and people are happy with, and that, I stand by what I do. So thanks for watching, and talk to you soon.